Kia ora, Nicola. How are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you. How are you going?
I'm very well, thank you. Where are you joining us from today?
In Hawea Flat, actually,
Excellent. Are
if
you
people
you're
know where that is.
well, for those out of the district who may be watching, where is that?
That's in between Wanaka and Lake Hawea, in the
Great.
flat.
And
hmm
how long have you lived there?
I've actually only lived here for about 2 years. I was born and raised in Wanaka, so yeah,
Ah, great stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
this is new for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you for making the time today. So
No worries.
I've kind of used the same questions for everybody, and they might vary a little bit. But what made you decide to run?
Um, well, I guess I've had this kind of idea in the back of my head. It's not completely random. I've always done community work and things, and it's kind of led to more governance roles. And then I think it's just time and place. My youngest child has started kindy, and so when the nominations opened, I just, actually had a moment to think about it, and I feel like I have the opportunity to do it now. And I also think I did look into it like pre-kids, and I think I've got much thicker skin now to deal with it. I don't think I would have wanted to do it in my 20s. Good on Cody for doing that. So yeah, I just think it's like the right time to try.
Great stuff. Well, thank you for running. Is there any particular issues that kind of made you decide to run? So you kind of mentioned your personal circumstances. Are there any issues that you kind of care about, or that a tipping point for you that you were like, actually, I want to be around the
Yeah.
table?
Yeah, it's not, I don't know if there's a lot of issues with it, but everyone kind of can see the same issues. It was for me, it was actually realizing that there was my age group in the 30s is the largest demographic in this region. And there was no one in the age of 30 representing on the board or on the council. So I just thought I need to step up and be the voice for that demographic and the voice for the new generation, because a lot of our age are raising the new generation. So that was kind of the
Yeah.
what tipped me over.
Okay. And so you've mentioned that you've got young kids, so I'm thinking that that might be the other Nicola. But is there anything that you're giving up to do this, or leaving behind to do this, or what does your world and career, and what have you been doing?
Yeah, well, mostly raising kids. Doing my master's in sustainable business, and so the idea was now to work on my sustainable business consulting. And so I would probably be giving that up because I still have the young kids at home a lot. So it would be free time and then probably starting my career. But this is just a different direction of career, I guess.
Okay. And I've asked everyone this, and it doesn't mean I'm not kind of prying into who you vote for. It's more
Mm,
about, I guess, I've noticed that people find this quite hard to answer, but if there's either a kind of political view of the
hmm
world that you kind of lean towards, is there anything that, like for me, people probably know that I'm pretty green. I'm very interested in climate and biodiversity. The political outlook of certain parties appeals to me,
hmm
based on things like equity and inclusion and things like that.
Yeah,
So, is there anything that you kind of, any political theory or belief system that you kind of lean towards?
yeah. I would say I'm quite similar to you in that respect. And I think most people, the reason why they don't like to answer that is because they're cautious of you. Either if you say you're
Yeah,
green, then
of
people
course.
don't. Um, but and again, I think that's true in the way that we talk about politics today. Like you can be green, but not want to have a good economy. And part of sustainability is that it's an like you're thinking about the triple bottom line. So it's about the economy, it's about social, and it's green. So I kind of, whilst I probably lean towards, equality and socialist stuff, I know that that can't exist alone. So yeah,
Yeah,
is that
and
good enough?
there's no right or wrong. I think
Yeah.
what it does is it offers people an opportunity not to align with political parties or kind of think of it in binary form. But for me, it's I think people's worldview and their political view does matter around the table.
Oh, definitely.
Because obviously political mandates that come from above are politically led and led by political parties. So they might be a directive that we believe in for a specific smaller policy, but the bigger picture that sits within is really important. So I guess that's kind of why I asked that question.
Yeah.
Now, so I've kind of taken a human approach, a kind of who's the person behind the politics. And that for me is how people show up around the table. It's how they interact with others. It's how they listen, etc. So is there something in your life, and don't worry if you can't answer an example, because I know that's really hard, something that you've changed your mind about recently? And the reason that I ask that question is because my learning is that we do hold these views about the world, and then we go into something, and I think a good elected member is somebody who can keep an open mind until kind of towards the end of a process and kind of deliberate on that. So have you got any examples about where you might have changed your mind on something? Or if that's too hard, the get out is what does that look like for you? Can you describe what you think it might look like?
I feel like I change my mind daily with children. You think you can parent them that way, and you hear all these theories, and then they react differently, and so you have to adjust. I think parenting really sets you up well for that, to be like, you can't always be set in your ways.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, of course I'm going to say this, but I do think I'm empathetic, and I do like to listen to all views, even though I may sway towards a certain political party or parties. I really love to hear the other side and understand that, because we, as you say, we all have different views, but we all have different strengths. So, people that are just really into economics, I like to hear the side before you go, well, it's all about the environment. You've got to weigh up all decisions. So, yeah, I would like to think I'd never go in fully with my mind made up on a certain thing, and that's kind of how I try and parent and be a partner and a friend. Yeah, often actually my partner's always like, I'm the devil's advocate, always trying to see things from both sides. It really annoys him, but I think it's just important.
Well, I reflect on my own strengths and weaknesses, and I think I think others might view this differently, but I think that one of my strengths and weaknesses is that I can see all sides. And I find the final decision making incredibly challenging, because life isn't binary, right?
Yeah, and you're going to not please everybody.
Well, and it's not so much about pleasing people, it's just that the direction isn't clear, actually. Even after lots of deliberation, it's like, well, is this the right way? I don't know,
Is this why you're not running again?
No, that's not why I'm not running. I'm not running again because mainly for me, I think it's two things. Whilst the central government may change in the next election, I'm finding it increasingly more challenging to work at a local authority level when central government mandates are pushing us in a way that I truly and deeply don't agree with. The dismantling of lots of legislation that is has environmental safeguards and social safeguards. What I'm seeing around the disruption and dismantling of anything Te Ao Māori as well, really concerned. So maybe that's the reason why I should stand. But I find, I think I've said publicly that the issues that I feel is that it's not that I don't have a voice, I use my voice, but it's more that I don't believe that the level of influence that I can have is kind of versus the accountability that I have is equal. And also because
really
I have a day job where I do find that I can be influential, and it is very rewarding, and it's in the field of work that I can use my skill as well. So governance, I do have other governance roles and they do interest me, but that's probably one of the main reasons, and there are a few other reasons as well. but this is not
Yeah.
about me. But yeah, thank
Good
you for
diversion
throwing
there.
that back. Good. So I ask a question around stress for the same reason, I guess, that I asked the question around how we show up and navigate situations around the table. So what would your friends or whānau kind of say in terms of how you respond and react in a stressful situation? So it might be that you come to the table and there's been a long process of getting there that the public don't see. It's not that you're just going in blind and making a decision on the day. But if that ends up being stressful, what would that look like for Nicola? And how do you think you respond in stress?
I think I'm pretty calm. And the big things in life, you know, big decisions, and I would say, yeah, I'm quite calm, and I don't get too overwhelmed with it. But I also, maybe that's because if you have all the processes in place and you believe in the you know, how it all flows, then you don't need to be stressed about it, do you? Because it'll all work out. But maybe day to day, I probably show more stress, and, you know, getting in the car, getting the kids ready, not being late, things like that. But, you know, that's all. I find ways to deal with it, meditate and exercise and
Nothing
things.
could
So
be as stressful as trying to get your kids in the car and getting out.
thank you. Exactly.
I remember those
I know.
days.
Like, give me a boardroom any day.
So how do you see your role as a counsellor? So thinking about the fact that you're one of 12, and you're working with staff, and you're working with other counsellors, and you're working with a mayor. So looking at it from that viewpoint, rather than, because the campaigning, right, is very, very different to the job. The campaigning is about getting in, obviously, and the job is about negotiating relationships and listening to the community and representing the community that you've stood for, etc. So can you describe what you feel your role is, and maybe an easier way to think of it is the qualities that you think you have or need, and also second part to that question is, what are the qualities of the mayor that you're looking for?
Okay, I think I've always liked to collaborate, and I tend to kind of lead in certain situations, which I don't know is always a good thing, but, you know, I like to not take control, but get things done. But in doing that, it's kind of working with people so that you get the best out of everybody. Everyone has their strengths, and kind of recognizing that so that the outcome is the best. That's probably the way I like to work in groups. I find I am not that confrontational, like that, the stress factor, that whole thing. I probably can talk to anybody and everyone on a even playing field without getting their heckles up. So then again, like really understanding where they're coming from and actually understanding it, and doing something about it. So that's probably how I work around with 12 people. And I like to, I'm an optimist. I like to think everyone is good and try and get the best out of them. So, so with the mayor, I mean, the mayor's role is, it's really to it's kind of what I just said, making sure that everyone is doing their best and listening to everyone. And I would really like to think that they can have a really great oversight of not only the council, but that CEO role, because I feel, you know, this is obviously a point of frustration for a lot of people. And I guess just integrity, like, why are they there? Are they really doing it for the people? And then show up like that.
Okay. I've asked a question around ego to everyone, so I feel like I should be asking that to you. I quite liked Cody's answer, which was around, if anyone that puts their face on a sign has got an ego. What's your view of what role ego plays? And I asked the question of, everyone's found this quite hard, but I asked the question because we are public figures, even though we live in quite a small area, and obviously we're not famous or infamous around the world. But
Yeah.
I think you have to be aware that public scrutiny plays into that, and that most people's ego is related to how they are seen or viewed in the world, right? So do
Yeah.
you think that ego is a problem or a positive, and what role does it play, and do you have one?
It depends how people, if you perceive that people are putting you on a pedestal, or, you can see how ego affects some people. It can be really detrimental. But maybe that is stemming from not having confidence within themselves, and so they're reflecting it from what other people are thinking of them, where I probably have an innate confidence, and I try not to care what other people think, and as I've got older, that's easier. So and to be fair, if you're a counselor, I feel like people aren't going to like you very much. I don't
You
think it's
might not get invited out socially quite as much as you used to.
So I don't see how the ego is going to grow with being a counselor. I feel like if anything, it will be tougher. But yeah, obviously prominent people in your community, if they get a big ego, that cannot work well in our favor. Yeah, keeping it in check.
Thank you. Okay, and I think time-wise, we're probably drawing to an end. So one of the questions that I've asked everyone, and how I originally framed the podcast, was what could possibly go right? And the reason it's framed that way is because we societally and globally, we're living in a huge time of transition. It's often talked about as like similar transition phase to things like the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution. We might not know that because we're around now and that's all we know. But we're living in very uncertain times with lots of complexity. So there's a lot against local authorities, is essentially how I've framed that question. So for you, what could possibly go right?
Wouldn't it be nice if council and community respected each other and liked each other? I think that could go right. And we actually all understood each other. We all understood why council makes those decisions. But then the flip side, we can really talk to our community without it always being, maybe too late or about something negative. So I think just like a really positive community council relationship, and then that flows into how we operate.
Great. Thank you. And do you have
Right.
any parting comments that you wish to make to the community before we go at all? Is there anything that you feel you'd like to say? Have you got like a tagline?
Big one.
Slogan?
Tagline. Oh yeah, I do have a tagline actually. Local heart, future mind. That's what I'm going for. Yeah. That's, I don't know, I just think if you, I don't know, just vote for who you really believe in, and make sure you vote, and make sure that's kind of part of it. Part of why I'm going is just engagement. It's not really, hey, if I don't get in, whatever. I just want my age group to be more active and understand. And then the more we know about council and government, local government, hopefully the better things work and the better we all work together. So yeah.
Excellent.
Kind of beyond me.
Excellent parting message. I think sit at approximately 40% of our district vote, which is not particularly, it's actually higher. It's just over 40%. It's actually higher than the national average.
Yeah. But my demographic has the lowest voting turnout. So yeah.
Yeah. So get out and vote, and look at the Electoral Commission for where you need to find, you need to have your address sorted. You need to know those things. You need to know where to go and vote. So you can do a late vote as well at council offices, for example. So there's one in Wanaka and one in Queenstown. So great message. We need people to vote. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for standing.
Thank you for doing this.
That's all right. My pleasure. Great to meet you.
You too.